Coming up on this edition of MHS Rewind, we'll talk to the administration about something that's consuming most of their day, contact tracing. And we'll sit down with the new principal, Eric Bowlen, and find out why he decided to return to MHS. We'll also hear from student drivers about how the I-69 construction is affecting their daily drive. And we'll talk with some six-year members of the marching band about their final season marching for MHS.
And in sports, we'll take a look at the volleyball team and their senior setter, Grace Reynolds. We'll have some highlight of the cross-country teams at Edgewood, and we'll talk to the girls golf team about their new head coach. Good afternoon, MHS. I'm Braxton Dilly.
And I'm Cole Meyer. We'll have all that and much more coming up on this edition of MHS Rewind.
Well over a year after the COVID-19 pandemic first started, and it's still impacting the day-to-day life here at MHS. Whether it's positive cases or close contacts, students continue to miss the days in the classroom because of the virus. But students aren't the only ones who are impacted by COVID-19. Elias Elsner sat down with the administrators to talk about something that now occupies most of their day, contact tracing.
During any normal school day during the MHS 2021 to 2022 school year, 10 to 15% of the student body is absent due to contact tracing. That's quite an amount. The people behind the curtain during this operation are the MHS administrators.
Well, it has, over the start of this year, it has dominated a lot of our time.
A particular case, we have to go through and look at the student schedule, then we have to pull the seating charts, then we have to go to the rooms and measure out, particularly the distance between each student, then we have to pull up their attendance records, then we have to check if they're vaccinated or not, and then we have to begin pulling them down and start making phone calls home to let them know that their child's going to be quarantined. So on a particular case, it could take well over an hour on one case.
But we are getting positive cases at night. I received one last night around 8 o'clock. We're also receiving them on the weekends, so it's pretty much a non-stop process.
Each positive case could impact 20 plus students. As of last Wednesday, MHS has had 68 positive cases.
The most difficult is whenever you have students who are, let's say they're contact traced, they're quarantined, then they come back, and then it happens again. And they miss another 10 to 14 days of school. That's really frustrating for them, and we feel their frustration.
There's nothing easy about this process. We're educators, so that's what we would like to be doing, but because of what we are being mandated to do, we are being put in this position.
On Friday, the district thought they may have found a solution to help limit the number of close contacts. However, they found out Monday afternoon that the state had not approved the plan.
Well, at some point in time, this this has to change, and I'm, working with the school board. School board's working with, looking at different options of what we can do, talking to lawyers, talking to some legislators, working really closely with Morgan County Health Department to see what options we do have.
For MHS Rewind, I'm Elias Elsner.
For the second straight year, Martinsville High School has a new principal. He should be a familiar face to many of the students and staff at MHS. Ethan Curtis has more on Mr. Bowlen's return to the place where he first started teaching nearly 30 years ago.
New principal Eric Bowlen stands out front every morning and greets the students as they're walking into the school. Bowlen is back in a familiar place. He started in education in 1994 when he was hired at Martinsville High School to be a government and U.S. history teacher.
Still some teachers that I worked with back then, they're still here, so it's like coming back home again.
Bowlen had been the principal at John R. Wooden Middle School since 2016. Bowlen says the greatest part about working here so far is the students and the students' positive vibe he has seen and felt.
Went down to the Bloomington South football game on Friday night, and we had a large student section. And that student section, toward the end of the game, one of the students, Mr. Hawk, went down and got a trash can, took it up into the student section, and they cleaned it up without anybody saying anything.
Back at Wooden, I like the way Mr. Bowlen encouraged us to clean up the other school student section.
I think we have a great student body and great staff, great support, it's a great school.
Bowlen says he's really impressed with the programs at MHS. That's one of the reasons he came here to see what all the students do. Bowlen's philosophy is that everyone has to get better every day.
Our whole goal is to try to help you all be prepared for what your future's going to be.
Above all, I mean, he's just an exceptional man, but he's brought a lot of good from what I've seen.
For MHS Rewind, I'm Ethan Curtis.
Ken Bell and his marching artisans are preparing for their first competition at the end of September. And for several seniors, this is a show that will mark the end of a journey that started 6 years ago. Blaine Maxwell has their story.
Every year, the Martinsville Marching Artisans have a marching show they take to competition. With the exception of last year, of course.
First and foremost, we're thrilled to be doing more normal things. The virus has still made its presence, most certainly. But you know, we are competing. We're doing those normal things. So this year's show, the official title is soon to be coming, but it's about from dusk to dawn, or a little night music.
While the marching artisans return to their normal, for the seniors and the band, it is their last show. Some will be marching from their way of life, such as Josh Gooden and Macy Kopis, who began their marching careers in the 7th grade.
It was the last year for my brother and sister to perform, so my mom wanted me to be in a show with them both. So that was really the only year that I'd be able to do it with them.
Well, my older brothers had joined marching bands prior to my experience I had. So I went to their competitions and I was thoroughly impressed by the music and the physical abilities.
It's a rare student that can do marching band as a 7th grader. And then the fact these folks have done marching band and winter drumline on top of it. So they've been doing 2 seasons worth for 6 years.
6 years in a row, it can kind of get tiring, but that's true to say with anything you've done for over half a decade. So really the only thing that's really been affected by me doing this for 6 years is I have no idea where I'm going to go after this.
The senioritis will hit. I'll be pretty sad, but I'm looking to more experiences of marching after high school.
This year's senior class as a whole is an outstanding group, very talented, great leaders, great people. I mean, they really do provide a great vibe for the group and stability. We'll miss them, but the cool thing is they're going to help raise the bar for the future.
I love coming out here, love playing my instrument, and I just love performing. So it's going to be hard to accept it, but I'll get by.
Fortunately for Gooden, it's not over yet. The band's first competition is Saturday, September 25th. For MHS Rewind, I'm Blaine Maxwell.
Chad Sullivan is also a 6-year member of marching band, but he wasn't there on the day of taping. He was at his job as an EMT.
The band practices most nights with the I-69 construction as their backdrop. That construction closed down a 5-mile stretch of 37 through Martinsville starting in January of this year. It's caused headaches for MHS drivers trying to get to and from school, and most places around town in general. And it's even forced some students to move. Mads Kennedy has more.
Everyone's seen it, the traffic, the construction. Even if you don't drive, chances are you've had to sit in construction traffic. However, not everyone has lost property to the new interstate. Blaine Maxwell, a student at MHS, had to leave his childhood home to make room for the new interstate.
So we moved in town to a really expensive house in Shireman. Couldn't afford to live there. We only lived there from 2014 to 2018, so that's 4 years. And we moved back out on Jordan Road near our family area.
His house was seized by eminent domain, a legal action taken by the government where they give property owners compensation for their land to be used in a public project. Maxwell's family lost multiple homes to eminent domain.
Before, I mean, on a wider scale family, because my great-grandparents were like we'd have Christmas at and all the other fancy little holidays at. They lived where the ramp thing is, up to that bridge thing. And they moved into a house along Jordan as well.
Even though life is arguably more different for Blaine and his family, the changes in Martinsville are being noticed by almost everyone.
I mean, it's going to be better for Martinsville in the long run, but like right now, it's not my idea because it just makes everything crowded and it's a hassle to get through town.
I mean, I've grown up here my whole entire life, so I'm just like, with everything that's different, I'm like, wow, like, what happened to this, you know? Like, I feel like it's just not the same town, honestly. It seems a lot different.
Most residents who drive plan their routes around traffic and detours, having to leave earlier just to make it on time.
Before, they closed Burton Lane, I typically just went that way to get into town and all that things, so.
Yeah, I'm definitely like, if I go this way, I'll avoid this traffic and construction, so I try to avoid it, for sure.
Like going to Greenwood, I try and take the back roads because it's really busy through there.
The current construction on State Road 37 through Martinsville is part of the I-69 finish line, the sixth and final section of I-69 connection between Evansville and Indianapolis. It's scheduled to be finished by the end of 2021 construction season, but many don't believe it'll actually be finished by then.
I don't know, because I've heard like, oh, they're going to be done with this part in this date or whatever, and then it's like 3 weeks later and it's not even started. So I'm like, this is going to be my entire life. I'm here. Or is it what? Is it going to be done? Like, let's get it done. So I honestly have no idea. Crazy.
They said it should be done in like, what, a couple years? I feel like it's going to take longer than just a couple years.
Although the construction on I-69 through Martinsville is set to be finished this year, construction will continue north of Martinsville all the way to I-465 until sometime in 2024. For MHS Rewind, I'm Mads Kennedy.
While construction continues on I-69, construction on the new field house is nearly complete. Silas McFarland gives us an up-close look at what's finished inside the impressive facility.
The field house was originally scheduled to be done on June 1st, but as we enter the start of the school year, it still wasn't finished.
It's been a struggle here recently. Sometimes you have product, but you didn't have labor to do the part of the job. Sometimes you had labor, but you didn't have the product to do the job.
Staggs says the synthetic floor project was about 8 weeks behind, but that project was completed last week and has to cure. When it's done curing, the bleachers will go in. The field house is an incredibly big building, nearly 40,000 square feet. Even though it's not fully finished, it still leaves quite the impression.
Wow, when you walk into it, wow is what comes to mind for me. It is one of those things that kind of takes your breath away. It's like, this is a fantastic facility.
When I walk in there and see it and thinking, this is nice, this is great for our kids, this is great for our athletes, for the coaches.
With the courts, the track, the volleyball nets, the baseball, softball cages. The wrestling room is awesome. It'll be the equivalent of 3 wrestling mats. It's a huge room. Just the whole view of it is just really impressive.
I think it's going to be a good thing. I think it puts us up there with a lot of our conference schools, gives us the opportunity to do a lot more things in the winter.
Probably going to be a game changer, especially for baseball. If it's raining outside one day, we don't have to cancel practice. We can go hit in the cages inside.
You're probably not going to find a field house that's as well designed, well thought out, and as useful as ours.
Staggs hopes to start using it around fall break, when it's scheduled to be complete. For MHS Rewind, I'm Silas McFarland.
The Martinsville volleyball team is 14-4 this season. One of the reasons for the hot start, senior captain Grace Reynolds, who's been the starting setter since her freshman year. Before the Artesians game against Monrovia, Martinsville head coach Kayla Beck gave Grace Reynolds a shovel in honor of her 1,000th career dig.
I think it's a big accomplishment, especially as being a setter, and it shows that I'm a very versatile player.
Grace is very tenacious. She never lets anything hit the floor, and Grace has a passion for the game and a love for the game that's shown through every single part of it.
But the senior's 1,000th career dig isn't her only career milestone. Last season against Trinity Lutheran, Reynolds also collected her 2,000th career assist, setting up a teammate for success like she's done her whole career.
She's really helped with my development over the past 4 years. She's given me the confidence on the court, and she just tells me I can do it and tells me to give me my all, and it really helps.
Reynolds started playing volleyball with her older sisters when she was 5. She started playing competitively when she was 10, and now she travels with Circle City. After high school, she'll take her talents to Florida Gulf Coast.
I think Grace will do fantastic down there. I think she will continue to develop at a high level. She will pay her dues as a freshman, and I guarantee by her senior year, she'll be running that offense just like she runs it here.
Reynolds says she picked the school in Fort Myers, Florida because the campus is beautiful and everyone competes hard, but has a good time doing it.
I'm really excited
because it's a whole different world. It's a lot different at the collegiate level, but I'm excited to work hard for the challenge.
College won't be the only challenge in Reynolds' future. She has big hopes and big expectations for this year's team.
I honestly think we can make it to state this year if we work hard together and just keep up the grind.
Reynolds isn't the only artesian who's hit a career milestone this season. Senior Mackenzie Martin recorded her 1,000th career kill, and junior Molly Urban picked up her 1,000th career dig in a matchup against Columbus North.
Boys and girls soccer have new faces at head coach this year, but as you'll soon find out, both coaches are quite familiar with the programs.
Right, we need to stay in this shape.
Willie Spina is the new head coach for the boys, but he spent the last 7 years as an assistant coach for the Artesians.
It's something that I've wanted since I started with Coach Urban back, like I said, that was 2013, I think, when I first started coaching. And I'm passionate about the program. I care about the success of the program, and I would like, to teach these kids more about soccer and just more about being, kind of being a role model for them.
The girls also have a familiar face at the head coaching spot. Jason Dilbone spent last year as an assistant coach for former coach Mia Moody. Coach Dilbone is used to coaching soccer. He coached his kids when they were younger and when they played club soccer. But this will be his first head coaching job at the high school level.
I just have a passion for the program. I want to see it grow. I want to see it do well.
But that doesn't mean their transition to head coach has been easy. Dilbone and Spina both say it's been difficult adjusting to their new spots.
From being an assistant, not having a whole lot of input, to this year taking over the program and putting everything together from practice plans to fundraising to being the disciplinarian.
You don't realize how much more is on your plate when you're a head coach. You got a lot more responsibility. But it's something that I wanted, and it took me a little second to get used to it. Now I'm kind of there, and I enjoy it a lot.
It's also taken the Artesians some time to get used to Spina. He has a different style of coaching than the Artesians' previous coach.
Duane was more technical. He really preached on technical stuff, and Willie's more like conditional. He just conditions us a lot. It's more of effort, less skill work.
Just like Spina, Dilbone also has a different style from the previous coach.
He works really well with the team and works drills that we actually need. So he watches during the games and just pays attention to what we really actually need to work on.
The work seems to be paying off. Both the girls and boys finished 2-1 at last weekend's Hoosier Cup.
The cross-country team traveled to Ellettsville a few weeks ago. Levi Suter traveled there as well for the highlights.
The girls' cross-country team continued their fast start to the season last Tuesday, winning the Mustang Invite over 11 other schools.
Honestly, they're really doing well, and I'm pleased with how they're running.
Alina Warzella and Allie Greenwell led the pack for the Lady Artesians. Warzella crossed the finish line in 5th, and Greenwell finished 6th.
Kind of paced myself with the girls in the front instead of just staying with the other ones, and I kind of got away from the big group in the back.
My strategy was just to have fun and get the best time I possibly could to beat my personal record.
The lone seniors led the Artesian boys. David Eggleton and Griffin Warzella finished back-to-back seconds away from each other in 7th and 8th place. The team finished 8th out of 12 teams on a tough Mustang course.
I would rate it 7 because of the first very long hill and then the muddiness in the pond that was back in the trail. It's been worse than that, so.
Good course, it was just muddy, and yeah, it was pretty messy because of the weather.
The boys and girls team pick up on Saturday at 9:30 a.m. at Decatur Central High School. For MHS Rewind, I'm Levi Suter.
The boys tennis team is off to one of their best starts in recent memory. Devin Brenner went to one of their recent matches and talked to their coach and several of their players about the team's recent success.
I'd say the season so far is going pretty well. I personally am at, 3 wins, 3 losses, which I'm okay with. I believe the team is at 2-4, which is not bad at this point in the season by any means.
I think it's going really well. After coming off a couple years with some, with no really great wins, this season has been really great to start out with a really big conference win and a second place win at
the Warren invite was really great. Just a lot more momentum to start the season, and I think that that's really carried over into individual wins as well.
A big part of the individual wins come from number 1 and number 2 singles players Nate Vway and Aiden O'Connor.
As 1 and 2 singles, I think we've kind of led the team into some of our victories and really supported each other.
We've really helped by winning those really tight ones where we'll be 2-2 against somebody and they're going to pull out that one in the end. It's been really great to be able to count on them consistently, to be able to do that when they're needed the most.
Both Vway and O'Connor put lots of work in this summer and really improved their game.
I think I've really worked on my ground strokes and really improved on my serves.
I went to a what's known as a clinic where you go. I mean, there's probably about 65 other really good players, and you essentially do drills with a bunch of really good coaches from around the state with a lot of really good competition, and you play each other as well, so that really helps.
You can catch Vway, O'Connor, and the rest of the boys tennis team Monday at the Mid-State Conference meet at Plainfield. For MHS Rewind, I'm Devin Berner.
The girls golf team is getting ready for their sectional. Annie Beers has a look at the team and their new head coach, Tim Dearlove.
Dave Knuckles resigned from his position as girls golf coach last year, which left the girls in search of a new coach. Luckily, Tim Dearlove stepped up to the position as head coach.
It's just a sport that I really enjoy playing. I love watching golf. I love being around the sport, and so that's kind of what pursued me to take it.
He admits the golf course was a bit different from his usual setting at the basketball court, but he has made a great impression on the girls and has led a successful season thus far.
I mean, as most people know, Knuckles has a more gentler attitude. Dearlove definitely expects a lot out of us, and I do appreciate that because it definitely has pushed me a lot harder.
Junior Brianna Payne started golfing as soon as she could walk, and competitive golfing became a part of her life when she entered middle school. With almost 6 years of experience and multiple different coaches, she says she appreciates Dearlove's enthusiasm and passion towards his players.
There's no off days. He will hold you accountable for whatever, whenever, and assistant coach Mr. Bobby Payne definitely encourages him to not be lenient with us, to make sure we're out here practicing, doing our best, not giving up, and I like that about him a lot.
He does have a totally different coaching style, but we've taken it really well and we've been progressing every practice and every match.
And we've just gotten a lot better. It's just really a great group of girls to be around. There's so many different personalities. There's never a dull moment. Just really 10 great girls to be around.
From MHS Rewind, I'm Annie Beers.
Greenwood traveled to Ciderwitz Field 2 weeks ago for some Friday night football action. The Artesians come out fired up for their Mid-State Conference opener. Tyler Adkins tucks it and runs into the end zone on the opening drive to put Martinsville up 6-0. Adkins and the Artesians strike again late in the first. A nice 9-yard pass to number 9 Austin Fry puts Martinsville up by 2 scores. Greenwood would tie it up before Fry was back at it again in the third. The senior takes the handoff and darts 45 yards straight through the middle of the Woodman defense to put the Artesians back up 21-14. After Greenwood ties it up again at 21, senior Riddick Bolton takes the handoff, bolts to the sideline, and outruns the Woodman defense for a 65-yard score to put the Artesians back out in front. Then senior Caden Long seals the deal with a pick 6 late in the fourth. It was Long's second pick of the night, third of the season, and the Artesians win 38-21. And finally today, the RTV program is doing something new this year. Announcements.
Luke Cheatham gives you a behind-the-scenes look about how the students are able to pull it off on a daily basis.
We try to get here around 7:30, and as soon as we get in here, we start writing the script. We start checking it because someone sends it to us, but it's not in any order, so we get it all in order. We start making it how we want to. We change some words, change some lettering and stuff, and just make it so we can understand it and read it pretty clearly.
The director will come in, the audio engineer will do mic checks, the teleprompter will make sure, or the teleprompter director will make sure that the teleprompter is going at a good pace, The anchors will get mic'd up and do a mic check. When Mr. Bowlen comes in, he'll get a mic check. He'll sit up against the screen here. Camera operators will get their stuff, and then once the director gives the all clear, we execute the announcements.
There's a lot of commands, and it's not like being rude. Like, it's just like I have to get everything ready, and a lot of the times they help out with it. Everybody's really good with helping out. The first couple of times it's really nervous. Even though you're not as an anchor, you kind of have to think that the whole like broadcast depends on you, and which it really does. Everybody has their own role, and it depends on you being like you doing what you need to do. So, but I've done it so many times now that it's not nerve-wracking at all, and it's pretty much just secondhand nature.
In most instances, I'd say it's much more calm when you're behind the camera than when you're in front of the camera. Like I've anchored a few of them, but you know, I've been relatively calm there when it goes on.
Yeah, the first time I did it, I was pretty nervous. I was stumbling and mumbling across words. It took me around 3 or 4 times till we actually got it right. But then after I kept doing it, about 3 or 4 times later, I mean, it was just, we mostly got it in the first or second try, and it was much easier than the first. But after a while, you get pretty used to it.
We do an after announcement debriefing just to make sure what went right, what went bad, and what needs correcting in the future.
You know, everybody has their off days, but you just look to improve every single day and hope that you can get better at making these look a little bit more professional.
That wraps it up for this first edition of the MHS Rewind Newscast for the 2021-2022 school year. For Braxton Dilly and the rest of the RTV2 class, I'm Cole Meyer.
Thanks for watching, and have a great rest of your day. And go Artesians.